Hi, 6th grade. Welcome to our video, Multiplying Fractions Using Cancellation. So today we are going to talk about how using cancellation when we're multiplying fractions helps us in our simplification process. So instead of having larger fractions that we need to simplify at the end, we can actually use cancellation to help us simplify as we're doing the problem. So let's get started. So first, let's just do a quick review of multiplying fractions. So just as a quick reminder, when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply straight across. We multiply first the numerators and then the denominators. So 5 times 3 would give us 15, and 6 times 4 would give us 24. And then we have to make sure that our answer is in lowest terms, and so 15 over 24 is not in lowest terms, so we would simplify that down to 5/8. Well, let me show you what I think is a shortcut to help us in the simplification process, and it's something called cancellation. So let's take this problem here. So when we say 5/6 times 3/4, another way that we could write that is we could write it out like this: 5 times 3 over 6 times 4. So what we want to do is we want to write out the numbers in the numerator and the numbers in the denominator in their prime form. Okay, so we want them prime factors written out. So what that would look like is on the top we would have 5 times 3 because 5 and 3 are both prime. But then the denominator we would have to rewrite. We would have to take 6. 6 is not prime, so we would rewrite that as 2 times 3. And then we would take 4, and that is not prime either, so we would rewrite that as 2 times 2. So then what we would do is we're going to look for fractional names of 1. Now remember, whenever we have a fraction that is equal to 1, that means it has the same number, in the numerator as the denominator. So in this case, we would look and we would see that we have both a 3 in the numerator and a 3 in the denominator. So we can cancel those out. Because they are a fractional name for 1, we could cancel them out and put a 1 instead, and that is not going to change the product, okay? And it's a way that we can simplify while we are doing the problem. So now, instead of 5 times 3, we have 5 times 1. And then instead of 2 times 3 times 2 times 2, we have 2 times 1 times 2 times 2. So let's start with the top. 5 times 1 gives us 5, and then 2 times 1 gives us 2, times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 8. And our answer is 5/8. And we no longer have to do any simplification. 5/8 is in lowest terms. Okay, so when we are doing this kind of process, you do not always have to write out the prime factors like I did in that last problem. There's actually a quicker way that you can do it, and that's by looking at the numerators and the denominators that are across from one another, up and down, okay? So we would be looking in this case at 6 and 3 and 5 and 4. So in both those cases, we would look and we would see, is there a factor that is common to those two numbers? So let's take 6 and 3 first. So for 6 and 3, we know that 3 is the common factor of both of those numbers. And 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 6 twice. Okay, so we can cancel those two numbers out and replace them with the number 2 and the number 1. Now we can look at 5 and 4. Now, is there a factor that is common to both those numbers? There isn't, so those two numbers will stay the same. Now we can go back to multiplying across like we've already learned. So 5 times 1 would be 5, and 2 times 4 would be 8. Okay, and that is in lowest terms, so we would be done with our problem. Okay, let's just review one more time. If you want to do it the long way, the way that you would write it out is you would take your first start with your numerators and you would write both numbers out as prime factors. So 3 and 8 would be written as 3 times 2 times 2 times 2, and 4 and 9 would be written as 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So take a minute and I want you to write this problem out in your journal. Good job. Okay, so this is the long way that you would write out the problem for cancellation. So now let's review the shortcut. So the shortcut would be same problem, 3/4 times 8/9. We would look across from numerator to denominator, and we're going to start with 3 and 9. And we're going to look for a common factor between the two. And in this case, it's the number 3. So we are going to cancel out 3, and 3 goes into 3 one time, so we're going to cancel it out and put a 1. 3 goes 9 3 times, so we cancel that out and put a 3. So now let's take a look at 4 and 8. So what's a common factor to both 4 and 8? Well, 4 is a common factor. So cancel out 8 and it becomes a 2. Cancel out 4 and it becomes a 1 because 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 8 twice. Now we multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And we are finished. 2/3 is 3/4 times 8/9 in lowest terms. Okay, here are 3 problems that I would like for you to pause the video and take a minute practicing these problems. Okay, great job. So let's go through them. So let's start up at the top. Let's look at 5 and 5, and 5 is a common factor for that one. 5 goes into both of them one time. And then 9 and 3, 3 is the common factor. 3 goes into 3 once, and 9 3 times. We're going to multiply straight across, and we get 1/3. Okay, now let's move on to this bottom one. Again, 3 and 9. 3 goes into 3 once, and 9 3 times. And 8 and 7 they do not have a common factor, so those stay the same. So 1 times 7 is 7, and 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, last one. Let's look at our 9s. 9 goes into 9 one time, and 4 and 20, our common factor is 4. 4 goes into 4 one time, and 20 5 times. 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 5 is 1/5. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this problem here. 2/9 times 5/7. I'm sorry, yes, 5 times 5/7. So we're going to multiply straight across on this one. 2 times 5 is 10. 9 times 7 is 63. Now the reason why I'm showing you this is because you will still come across problems in your homework and as we continue on in this chapter where you will not be able to do the cancellation process. You'll look at your numerators and your denominators and you'll determine that there's no common factor. And so you'll just need to do the straight multiplying across like we did in this problem. 2 times 5 is 10, 9 times 7 is 63, and then you'd have to determine if it's in simplest form. And in this case, it is. Okay, one more quick thing. So you may see in our book that there are problems where they will ask you, what is 3/4 of 4/3? Well, that's another way of just asking you to multiply. So another way that you could write that is 3/4 times 4/3. So in this case, we certainly can do our cancellation, can't we? Okay, 3 and 3 goes into both of those one time, and 4 and 4, both of those one time. So we do 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. And any fraction, that same number on top and on the bottom, is always equal to what? It's equal to 1. So your answer to this would be 1. Go ahead and pause the video, and why don't you do this problem? Find 2/3 of 3 halves. Great job. Okay, so we are going to, if you want to, you can rewrite that as 2/3 times 3 halves. Do our cancellation and our cancellation again, and we end up with 1/1, which equals 1. Okay? All right, one more quick concept, reciprocals. Let me show you what a reciprocal is. If I were to ask you to write the reciprocal of 5/6, what I would want you to write is a fraction where you have flipped the numerator and the denominator. So it would look like this. Instead of 5/6, you would write 6/5. Okay, then you can do your multiplication straight across. 5 times 6 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30. And that would be equal to 1. Okay, so let's take a look at these. What would be the reciprocal of 7/15? Well, the reciprocal of 7/15 is 15/7. Write down the reciprocal of 1/8. The reciprocal of 1/8 is 8/1. Now what about a whole number? What if I told you to give me to write the reciprocal of 13? Well, remember, any whole number can be written over 1. And so the reciprocal of 13 would be 1/13. Okay, last thing that we are going to do. I would just like for you to take a minute, and I would like for you to practice this one word problem. Okay, Amanda has 6 pieces of ribbon that are 2/3 of a yard long. How many yards of ribbon does she have? Go ahead and pause the video and do this word problem. Great job. Okay, so you should have written this out as 6 times 2/3. Okay, you can rewrite that 6 as 6/1, and then we can cancel. Okay, let's look at 3 and 6. Well, 3 is a common factor of both of those, so we're going to cancel out. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 6 twice, and now we're going to multiply straight across because 2 and 1 are both prime and they do not have factors that are common to each other. So 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1. Now, when you have a number that's over 1, we can rename that as just the whole number. So in this case, we would say 4 yards. She has 4 yards of ribbon. Your assignment for tonight are your video notes that are to be in your journal, and then practice problems. Page 152, I want you to do problem number 5 and problem number 9. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.